to episode 64 of Let's Hear It. We've been on a little bit of a break, but we're back now and should have regular videos for you once again. Today's guest is Noga Shefi. She's going to show us a Univox bass, a great bass, copy of a Fender bass. So let's say hello to Noga. Hello, Noga. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you?
Right now in my retreat space in Colorado.
Excellent. What part of Colorado?
Actually, can I not disclose
An undisclosed location. That's awesome. Yes. I like the undisclosed location. Somewhere in the mountains of Colorado, or maybe in the flatlands of Colorado, because it's not all mountains.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what have you been doing during the pandemic?
Lots of different things. Some music things and some non-music things. Actually, I've been writing some songs and trying to finish up a little EP of songs I recorded actually back in New York before I left. So excited about finishing that up.
Excellent. And you also have a Patreon page where you it's bass lessons and various other escapades, right?
Yeah, my Patreon page is called The Groove, and it's basically like, I really like playing bass. I've been doing this for a long time, and a lot of times people like get excited and they're like, they just think that people are just born with the ability to do certain things, and I really like, emphasizing that it takes practice, and I really like sharing the stuff I practice. So it's basically for that. I like share a video every week of stuff I like to work on or practice that can improve like time, feel, groove kind of stuff. So yeah.
And when did you start playing bass?
I started playing bass around like in high school. So that would be like almost 20 years ago. Yeah.
And I know that I met you by complete random coincidence. We were standing in a line at the Murmur Theater in Brooklyn going to see Cass McCombs with Sam Evian opening, and you were going because you were going to be taking the place of Dan Horn in Cass's band on bass. So I think you were going to watch the gig and hang out. And, that was a fun coincidence.
I know.
What was it like touring with Cass?
It's a pleasure. I mean, I just love his music so much, and I love playing with these guys. It's just super awesome. It's like this perfect combination of like beautiful songs and lots of room for jamming and changing up the set every night and doing, lots of freedom. So yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah, he's one of the great songwriters around. Always comes up with amazing stuff and always has a great band. I've seen him many times over the years. He's always great.
Yeah, I agree.
Who else have you been playing with? I know obviously there's been no touring, but for the last few years, I know you've played in various bands or jam sessions. I've seen a lot of videos of you up on YouTube playing with various people.
Yeah, I played with lots of people over the years. I think most recently, like in the couple of years that led up to the pandemic, I was mostly touring with Cass and with a Brooklyn band called Rubble Bucket. But also lots of other like Brooklyn acts, like my friend Isaac Gillespie, I played in his band, A Due Diligence. I played with Renata Zeiger a little bit, with I was in a band called Zula.
Nice.
Now I'm like blanking. I played with Leapling, like lots of different Brooklyn bands. Yeah.
It's great. And so this bass that you have there is a Univox bass, and those were mostly made in Japan and kind of copies of Fenders. Do you know what year that one is, or any idea?
Yeah, as far as I know, this is a 78.
Excellent. And where did you get that bass?
So I got that from my friend Lior, Lior Koren, who's a great bass player. Actually, he makes really... Oh, shit, I was going to show the strap. Hold on. That's like my main strap, too. And he makes these straps. So shout out to LK Straps. I don't know if you have space for links, but we could add a link. So he made this.
Yeah.
He hand makes these straps, so he can make them custom, and like they're kind of nice. So he sold me this bass. I basically came to him because I knew he had a lot of basses, and he was really into the old P basses, and what I wanted was a P bass, but I didn't have the budget for a real nice old P bass.
Yeah.
But I was looking for the sound and, you know, that style of that bass, and he was like, well, I have this thing, and so that was really affordable. And so I got it, and then, yeah, that kind of became my main instrument from that on. I mean, I have other basses, and I've had other basses, but I just love this instrument.
Nice. Well, why don't you give us an example and tell us what you love about the sound?
Yeah. I think it's got this like just beautiful resonance. It's like some people were telling me they can like tune it so that all the notes are like perfectly in tune, and I was like, no, I like it like that. I like the way it vibrates. It's hard to explain. It does sound very woody, like.
Do you mainly play with your hand, or do you sometimes use a pick?
I use a pick sometimes, mostly when it's required. If the song was kind of written with a pick vibe and I play for somebody.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to get into it. It's mostly fingers, yeah. But this bass is great because first, it's got like a lot of power, which I really appreciate. Like, you know, it's just got a really nice output. I like that.
Yeah.
It's also, I think 78 is from the lawsuit years, what's called the lawsuit years, before Fender sued Univox for making their copies too good, like too similar to the original. And this is a Brazilian rosewood, which I don't think they make too many basses with that anymore. So yeah, that's why
that's amazing, and it does look exactly like a Fender bass.
It does, although the pickups look kind of different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have these knobs on, but yeah.
And from what I can tell, it sounds very much like a Fender bass as well.
I know. I mean, they all have slightly different character. Even if you take a P bass, they all like, yeah. But I'm satisfied. The only thing that it doesn't give me is like this like very clear punch that you get from like a jazz bass or like a Ibanez or something. It's like this bass has kind of a really kind of big sound. So if you're trying to be, I don't know, you got to use your fingers if you're trying to be very, have a very like precise kind of a sound.
So what would be an example of one of the Patreon lessons you give on the groove?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Like I like to play around with time stuff. So I don't know if I could. I use metronome, and I don't have one right on me, but I like to like play something to the click and then treat the click as if the click was the offbeat, and then try to play it like that. So like feel time in different ways. Like you could be playing the same thing and then feel time in a different way. In relationship to the metronome, or like a lot of like sound stuff. Like I love using pedals, but I really think it's crucial that people get a nice tone just with their fingers and their instrument before they're reaching out for, you know, other sound devices. And so like I recommend people take like a simple bass line, right? Like whatever it is, like just whatever, I just made that up. And then you play that repeatedly, and every 4 times that you play it, you like change something about the sound. But you can't change the notes, like the actual notes or the rhythm. So you're playing the same kind of pattern, but you're changing something about the sound or the length of the notes or the articulation. So like, yeah, just messing around with stuff like that related to sound and time. It's my thing.
Nice. I think it's always important for musicians to not everybody's a teacher, but it's always fun to share the stuff that you like to do on your instrument, whether it's I'm a teacher or I'm not a teacher, or I'm giving lessons or I'm not, but there's always something that you can pass on to somebody else. I think that's such a nice part of being a musician as well.
Yeah, totally.
Well, why don't you give us a couple little other examples of the sound of the bass, and then we'll let you go back to your day.
Cool. Since you mentioned Cass, I can play one of the famous ones. You know that song?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you play other instruments as well?
I play some guitar. Guitar was like my first instrument before bass. I can like hold a beat on the drums, but I won't say I do it professionally. Yeah.
Well, it's good. Stick to the bass. I like your bass playing a lot. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for showing us your bass. And look forward to seeing you one of these days somewhere on tour maybe, or maybe in New York.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.
All right, Noga. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks to Noga Shefi for joining us today and showing us that awesome Univox bass. Check out our Patreon page if you can. Check back in the next couple days for another episode of Let's Hear It.